oh, how did it ever get there? And I know enough about great whites, like they're to be as old as they are, they're like delicate little like you put a great white in an aquarium and it just dies.
Do you know a lot of old great whites?
No, I mean, I know a lot of old whites.
Me too.
Part of what I do for a living. I talk to and about old whites quite often. Speaking of what we do for a living, hi there. My name is Matt Murphy, and I'm a talk show host with Cumulus Media, and I say all the best words.
I'm Cameron Smith. I'm an editorial board member and columnist at a number of different outlets, and I write all the best words.
And together, Cameron and Matt are all the best words.
I know words. I have the best words.
This is All the Best Words with Matt Murphy and Cameron Smith.
And welcome. You caught me drinking. That's not new. So here's the format of our little podcast that we like to call All the Best Words. Cameron Smith, Matt Murphy, we each bring a word to the table. Once an episode, I bring my word, he brings his word. I don't know what his word is. He doesn't know what my word is. And then we discuss. It's just that easy.
Let's go. What's your word?
My word today is proxy. Oh yeah, I love a good I love a word with a good X in there. Proxy, which has gotten a lot of attention in the Republican-led House of Representatives primarily, where one particular member whose name I always screw up, it's Anna Paulina Luna. I think I have that right. A Republican representative from the great state of Florida. I think I have that right as well, who is a new mother and wants to make it a thing where new mothers are allowed to vote by proxy in the House of Representatives and can stay at home with their newborn children. And this feels right. It feels all good. It feels all, well, it's nice. It's a touchy-feely thing. We want all types of people, all people from different walks of life to represent us in the House of Representatives. Here's what I want. I want members of the House of Representatives to work more, not less. I want them to be in the halls of Congress more, not less. I think it is an absolute travesty that they call a work week, getting there by Tuesday afternoon votes and getting out of there by Thursday afternoon. And, they can tell me all they want. Oh, we're going back home and we're working at home. I call Bravo Sierra on all of that. You're going and having a good time, whatever. You need to be up there working more, not less. As far as the new mother thing goes, they have daycare in Congress. They have babysitting services. They have the best of services up there, and you can bring your child. I mean, take your child on the floor. I don't care. Whatever. If you need to, they have plenty of nursing stations. All of these things are available. I say no to proxy voting because you're opening the door to just a batch of people demanding that they be allowed to proxy vote as well because my knee hurts or whatever. I say no.
Matt Murphy, I did not anticipate you being a lobbyist's best friend. Because really, I know that this may shock you to learn, but remote voting is something we can do quite securely, quite easily, and we can keep the representatives most of the time closer to the people they represent as opposed to a target-rich environment in the Capitol complex where they're up there, the lobbyists are up there. You know who's not up there most of the time? The people that they represent. So to have them in the district listening to the people where they are and then voting makes those lobbyists have to fly all over the country if they want to get their special interest things through. So I think there's a world where we should have a very robust discussion about, hey, not just as accommodation for mothers or people with disabilities or people grieving the loss of a loved one, but we want Congress out of Washington, D.C. more often than not because they can vote remotely. They do need to work. They do need to be there. They do need to work together. But, man, I've been up there, and I can tell you those lobbyists love that they have one place to go.
So the work product right now is relatively low. Do we believe that the work product is going to improve if they get to stay at home even more? Do we have any confidence that certain members, be they Republicans or Democrats, will actually be doing the voting? Or will it be someone in their office voting for them because, well, they were a little too busy? They're off with a lobbyist on a junket somewhere. I don't know that cramming the lobbyist even further into the shadows all across the United States of America is necessarily the answer here. I understand that we want to make sure that we understand why some of these people are voting the way that they are. I would just prefer it to happen in Washington, D.C. I just want a little more work product out of Washington, D.C. before I'm going to trust these people to work from home. I don't trust most anybody to work from home. I don't believe that bloggers in pajamas is the answer here, and I don't think it's the answer for Congress.
Well, as a Federalist, I can tell you I don't actually want them doing more. I think the concern is that they do too much already. They need to let the states handle it. And you know why that's the reason that our country's designed that way? Is because in the state, I can go over to the state capitol and say, hey, what's going on? Why are you doing this to me and my family? When they're in a far-off city like Washington, D.C., it's out of sight, out of mind for most people. And let's be honest, you're right. Congress's work product has not been impressive. In fact, all they're doing is funding the government and then delegating their authority to the executive branch, and that's got to stop.
I'm just happy that in the context of this discussion about new mothers, that you, the father of like 28 boys, did not bring up the emotional, hormonal-based response that you get from many mothers right after they have children, and that's why we might not want new mothers voting in the halls of Congress. I'm just proud that you didn't bring that up.
Well, I appreciate that. With that, why don't you give me your word?
Well, that was my word. Proxy was my word.
Oh.
And
I just wanted another word from you.
That's all I'm bringing to the table today. What do you got?
I'll give you a word. Big Bird is homeless.
What?
Big Bird is homeless. The Sesame Street no longer has a home. The HBO Max deal that had been airing new episodes of Sesame Street ended earlier this year, and we're looking at the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, National Public Television, Public Radio. We've started to hear more and more about this, and so I started to dig in. So my word is Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The specific concern I have is it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist at all. It may be at some time in some place when there were 3 channels, there was a need for publicly funded content. I don't think there is anymore. The focus in Congress when there were hearings on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was you're biased. Your viewpoint is overwhelmingly left of center, and therefore this is a problem and you shouldn't exist. My argument is that state-funded media content masquerading as journalism shouldn't exist at all, regardless of somebody's political perspective. About $500 million a year going to essentially license content with different folks and put it up for the public and act like these networks, these radio stations, this television station stuff is all just like everything else. It's not.
Well, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly that, I think the partisan piece is the easiest one to dissect on all of this, right? That clearly the public broadcasting, whether it be the television side or NPR, the radio side, or the audio side, has lost its way. It's lost all semblance of fairness when it comes to reporting the news in an unbiased fashion. That's the easy part. I think the tougher part is to recognize, as you said, that there was a time when public broadcasting, specifically public television, was doing things that nobody else on network television necessarily was doing. And they were doing it without the concept of a profit motive. I mean, they always had underwriting. They always had backing. But there wasn't necessarily a profit motive involved. Frankly, I think that has been replaced by so much crowdsourcing and funding sources on internet and in other platforms that you see much, much more creativity happening away from the public broadcasting space. A good example is, and I used this on my talk show several weeks ago, would Ken Burns have been able to produce. Now, I understand that Ken Burns of late is, being charged with partisanship or whatever, but go watch the Civil War. Watch the documentary on baseball. Watch the documentary on country music. These are great documentaries. He does great work. Would they have existed without public broadcasting? Maybe not. Maybe Ken Burns doesn't exist without public broadcasting. So I think you can say both. I think you can accept that there was a time when public broadcasting was something that could provide good. I don't know that it was ever a necessity, but it provided good artistic outlets for people that didn't quite fit a niche that could be filled in those other spaces. Now, those other spaces are wildly abundant, particularly on the internet and in other places on television, and I don't think there's a need for taxpayer-funded broadcast outlets anymore.
And the reason I led with Sesame Street being homeless is, to your point, saying that was the flagship public television program of my generation. Sesame Street was everywhere. This was the thing. And for it not to be able to find a home for its original episodes anymore, there's no competitive bidding for it. There's no going after it. We tried it. We ran it for a little while. HBO Max did that, and then it couldn't work. Well, that says, is there really a value there? And in these congressional hearings, it was the head of public television for Alaska basically said, well, there's some remote areas that this is the way we get emergency broadcasts. If that's the way we get emergency information to people, we're really antiquated.
A little bit behind.
Let's talk about Starlink. Let's talk about these other options.
Right, no question. So this begs this final question then, Cameron. Who was your favorite character on Sesame Street?
Without any hesitation, I can say Cookie Monster. I thought it was fantastic. That was my nickname, actually, in college. Because
wow, I can't imagine why.
I would always be at the co-op they had these lovely large cookies that were soft and doughy. And so my nickname was Cookie Monster.
Well, not to reinforce negative stereotypes, but I was always partial to Oscar the Grouch.
I am not shocked. And with that, Matt, those are our best words.
Those are the best words for today, episode number 2 of All the Best Words. Like and subscribe and tell your friends about us, and we'll be back next time.